Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne and today I'm going to share with you how I made these yummy appetizers. These are right on time for the new year. I'll share with you all the ins and outs. Are you ready? Let's get started. Now for my cheese, I'm going to be using this extra sharp cheddar cheese. Now you can also use regular sharp cheddar cheese, or either you can use Gruyere. Gruyere is another cheese that you can use. So I'm just going to slice it off my block. I'm going to be making a total of 8 appetizers. Now you can make this smaller, make the appetizers a little bit smaller, more of the bite size, and like instead of this is going to be like about a 3 or 4 bite appetizer, but if you want it to be like a 1 bite appetizer, you can definitely make 16. I'm slicing my cheese about 1/8 of an inch thickness. For that thickness, picture about 3/4 stacked together, about that thickness. And as far as the length, about 3 inches in length and about an inch or so wide. So those are my cheese strips, and I have 8 here. I'm going to take these, I'm going to set them aside, and then next we're going to start working on our onions. I'm using a brown onion for this recipe. You can also use a yellow onion, or you can use an onion that states it's a sweet onion. You can use any 3 of those. It's going to work fine. My onion is rather big. It's like softball size, so I'm using about 1/3 of it. I'm going to slice my onion in strips, and we're going to caramelize our onion. So if you haven't caramelized an onion before, I'm going to share with you my quick tips on how to caramelize an onion. And then once I slice it, I like to separate the pieces, and you definitely want to do that when you're going to be caramelizing an onion. And so once I kind of got my little pieces here separated, I'm going to go over to the stove and get our onions going. I'm using my 10-inch cast iron skillet, but you can use any skillet or pan that you want. And so I'm going to start it off with no oil and no butter, no oil or no butter in the skillet. I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of water to my sliced onions. So I have my skillet is on. I have it on a medium high heat, and it's going to start getting going. And so once the water kind of starts to just boil just a little bit, starts to simmer, and as you see, I've got some steam coming up. I moved my onions around, and our onions are going to reduce down, and we want them to sweat. And I have found that starting them off, instead of starting them off with oil or with butter, starting them off with the water to help to soften them up makes a huge difference in the cooking time. So once I start to see some steam being released, I put the top on. So I'm going to put the top on, and we're going to let them just kind of do their thing in that medium to medium high heat. Okay, we're just kind of starting to soften them up. I have here 8 strips of thin cut bacon. So you want to use thin cut bacon. I'm cutting off the excess fat on the bacon just so that way it's leaner as it cooks up in the appetizer. Now when it comes to the appetizer, you can go ahead and use the bacon like I'm using. I'm going to use the bacon raw, and it's as it bakes in the oven, the bacon will go ahead and cook up. But you can also do it a second way, and that is pre-cooking the bacon if you want your bacon to be much crispier. So you can also do it that way. Now for me, I make a variety of different puff pastry appetizers and little dishes that I like to make, and I will share some of those. I'll share those in the description box below. I'll put a link to my puff pastry appetizers that I do. Typically, I always like to cook all the ingredients and then assemble them with the puff pastry, but I really wanted to try to see how it would come out if I used the bacon uncooked versus using the bacon cooked. And so I want to share with you and show you what that looks like and what's the process like if you decide to do it this way. Okay, and so now once I have my bacon cut in half, and so I have 8 pieces, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to go ahead, wash up my hands real quick, and we're going to check on our onions. So our onions are looking good. My water has evaporated a lot. It's created a lot of steam inside my pot. And so now it's time for me to add in my butter. Now typically I'll add anywhere from 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm using unsalted butter, but you can use unsalted butter or either salted butter. Either one of those is fine. And so I put in my butter. I'm going to mix the butter around, but you see how our onions already, just from sweating with the steam, with that 1/4 of a cup of water, how our onions really start to soften up. And when it comes to caramelizing the onion, we want to take it slow. We don't want to rush the process when you get to this point. So that medium high heat that I had, that medium to medium high heat, I turned it down to more of a medium low. Then I'm going to add some kosher salt. I'm going to add just about a pinch of kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt, you can add a pinch of regular table salt. You can add that, but you just need a little bit. A little bit does go a long way. This is also going to help the onions start to release their liquid, and we're going to need that liquid in order to have the onions really start to caramelize and brown up a bit. And we don't want them to get overly brown, because then they're going to take on a different taste and texture. We want them to be a beautiful, like a nutty color. And so once I do that, I see that I need a little bit more butter. So usually anywhere from 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add a little bit more butter because we do want to have a little bit of that butter, or sometimes you can even use oil. Vegetable oil also works good. Some people use vegetable oil, but I like to use butter for flavor, and just take it slow on that medium to low heat. And you see how, like with the onions, once you have them nice and even, you see how they sizzle. You see how I have like this little sizzle going on with the onions in my pan? That's what you want to have. You want to have that nice even sizzle, because that's going to give that beautiful caramelization, the caramelization that it's going to bring out that nice flavor in our onions. And so I'm going to continue to do this, and this is going to take me maybe about 20 minutes, anywhere from 15 minutes to 20 minutes at this point. And it's very tempting to want to raise your heat and make them brown up quicker. But what I found is that when it comes to caramelizing onions, slow and steady wins the race. And so I just continue to move my onions around. And as you see how they continue to reduce down, my onions are getting nice and caramelized. They're getting darker in color. They're not burning at all. And that's just that slow, even heat, moving the onions around in your skillet, making sure that all the onions have that surface time, and then moving them around some more so that way no onions burn, and they just really have this beautiful color. When they're looking about like this, you can take them further. I like mine about like this. And so now they're ready for me to go ahead and take them out of my pan. And if you wanted them a little bit browner, you could let them go ahead and cook for about maybe 3 to 5 minutes more. And caramelizing the onions like this, they are great on steaks or on hamburgers. They come out perfect every time. So definitely do that 1/4 cup of water when you are making your caramelized onions. And if you're doing more onions, you want to go ahead and boost that up to a 1/2 cup of water if you're going to be doing double the onions. Now I'm going to finish putting together our appetizer. I'm going to beat 1 large egg, and the egg is going to give our puff pastry a beautiful golden color when it's done baking. And it's also going to help to seal the edges of our puff pastry when we fold it over for the baking. Now for the puff pastry, I'm using this one. This one I actually got from Trader Joe's, and this is an all butter puff pastry. And so that's the one that I prefer to use for this particular appetizer. It's an all butter puff pastry. And so it comes like this. You actually get 2 rolls. We're just going to need 1. Now, if you want to use both rolls, you would just double this recipe to go ahead and use both rolls. So the second roll I have that in the freezer, and so this comes in the freezer section, and then I take it and I put it in the refrigerator for it to just unthaw. So you unthaw it in the refrigerator, and so it's still cold, and you want to work as quickly as possible because it goes from cold to room temperature in a small amount of time, very quickly. And so you're going to unroll it, and it's going to have a piece of paper on the back, this piece of parchment paper. We're going to take that off. We don't need that. And on my pastry mat, I put a little bit of flour because we don't want our pastry to stick. So you want to put just a little bit of flour on your mat, or if you're not using like a pastry mat like I'm using, you can just use a clean countertop. A clean countertop surface is fine. I'm also going to use my rolling pin. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my rolling pin as well. I'm going to stretch out my puff pastry to an extra couple of inches on each side. And the reason why I do that is because this actually is pretty thick. The puff pastry is actually pretty thick, and I want it to bake up nicely. And so what I found is that if I just kind of roll it out a little bit more, it gives me more surface area to work with for my filling, but it also helps it just to bake up a little bit more evenly, a little bit better. And so I like to go ahead and just roll it out for an extra either 1 to 2 inches per side. Next, I cut my pastry into 4 sections, 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom. So I end up with 8 sections total, so 8 pieces total. And I do those in a rectangular shape. In the middle of each rectangle, I put my caramelized onions. And it's important that the onions, you do want them to cool down. At this point, you don't want to have hot or warm onions that you're putting on your puff pastry, because it'll melt through the puff pastry and end up making it too thin on that one side. And also I like to even them out, and I put about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of caramelized onion in each rectangle. Now on top, we're going to layer it with our cheese that we had sliced earlier, and we want to make sure that the cheese is right on top of the onion and not too much onion is exposed around the sides underneath the cheese. Then for our egg wash, go all around the edges just like that. We're going to go around the edges of our rectangle. This will help to seal our appetizer, and also that exposed area will become nice and golden brown. Next, I'm going to layer my bacon right on top of the cheese. Now in the description box below, I will share a list of all the ingredients that I'm using to make these puff pastry appetizers, as well as at the end of this vlog, I'll share the visual of all the ingredients that I use to put together these appetizers. And so at the corners, what I do is I take the corner and I take the opposite corners, and we're going to fold over into the middle. So I fold over one half and I fold over the other half, and we're going to leave the ends exposed. And so I'm going to do that again. I fold over one corner, I fold over the second corner, and sometimes if you have to use like a little butter knife or your knife just to kind of lift up the puff pastry, because it's now become more room temperature, so we are going to put it in the refrigerator just to kind of chill it up before we bake it. But when I fold it over, the 2 seams in the center should be touching, and then I just kind of pinch them together a little bit just to kind of make sure everything is covered. And I'm going to do that again for you. To the corner, I'm going to fold over the corner. I'm going to leave some of that bacon exposed. I want to pull out that bacon and have it exposed. Take the other corner and fold it over so that way it touches the other side. You see how I touched right there? And then I tap it closed, or sometimes I'll seal it closed. Now if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to show it some love and give it a thumbs up. I'm going to go ahead and wash up my hands real quick. We're going to transfer our puff pastry to my baking sheet, and I lined my baking sheet with some parchment paper. To transfer my appetizers to my baking sheet, the easiest way that I've found is that I use my spatula. I put a little bit of flour on it, and so that way it's easier for me to lift it up without it tearing at all, especially now when the puff pastry has become more room temperature. Now we're going to be using our egg wash, and we're going to go over our puff pastry with our egg wash. This is going to help our puff pastry to stay together. For those edges, for those middle edges right there that come together to stay together, kind of acts like a glue almost. And also it's going to give that beautiful golden brown color to our puff pastry. I'm going to place this in the refrigerator to let it chill for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're going to take it out and we're going to bake them up. So they've been chilling in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes or now. I also exposed a little bit more of the bacon on each end so we can get some nice browning on our bacon. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and it's going to bake in our oven for about 25 to 35 minutes at 400 degrees. Well, my appetizers are out of the oven. They baked in my oven for 35 minutes. They look good Oh my gosh, they smell good. You can smell that caramelized onion in there. The bottoms are beautiful golden brown. I'm going to let y'all have the first bite, and I'll let them sit for about 10 minutes. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite. Y'all, I took 2 bites. This has come out so good. This is the first time I've made it without pre-cooking the bacon, and I have to say they have come out really good like this. The bacon, when I pre-cooked it, of course, is crispier. So if you definitely want that crispier bacon, you can definitely do that. And just kind of par cook your bacon where it's almost done, and then go ahead and proceed. Well, as you see, they start to disappear already. My family came in and grabbed some off of the cookie sheet. These are the ingredients that I use: the onion, the puff pastry, my cheese, the thin bacon, and also 1 egg for my egg wash. And we also used some kosher salt and some water when we made our caramelized onions. Well, that is it for me today. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, don't forget to show it some love, give it a thumbs up, and click share. Share this video with a friend or a family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Happy New Year. Bye-bye, everybody.